Thanks for staying with us right here on Checkpoint. We're glad you made the time to be with us. The hashtag to use on social media is Checkpoint, at KTN News, at Yvonne Okwara. I'll be looking out for your feedback in the course of the show. Now, as promised, we have the leader of the Third Way Alliance, Kenya, Dr. Ekuru Aukot. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Yvonne.
It's good to have you on the show yet again. Let's just start off with the talk of reforming the constitution that's big in the country right now. A lot of people are talking about it, including the church. The NCCK is even going as far as giving some specifics. So before I even ask you about those specifics, do you think we're in a constitutional crisis? You wrote this law in 2010.
Yvonne, I don't understand what the basis for a constitutional crisis is all about. You know, a crisis means a state of uncertainty where things are almost collapsed. There is no way out of it. Unless people are very specific, what is the crisis in Kenya today? I do not see where the crisis is. There is actually no basis for talking about constitutional crisis in Kenya. And I don't know what has given rise to this dialogue about constitutional crisis. I think the people who are citing constitutional crisis ought to be able to be more specific. What is the crisis? Is it that we don't have a government in place? Is that we are not able to do our business as, in accordance with the Constitution? Is Parliament not functional? Is the executive not functional? Is the judiciary not functional? Because that's the only three arms of government. So it's important for people who are citing a constitutional crisis to say, this is the crisis, that perhaps we do not have a government in place, or we are not able to form the next government. I don't understand. So for me, it's a debate, I think, in abstract, that I wish we couldn't really engage unless there are specifics to it.
The NCCK has, though, been specific about it. They're talking about certain posts that they want included, the position of Prime Minister. They want an official opposition position created for that. In fact, Canon Karanja talked about giving dignity to the opposition. What do you think about those proposals?
Unless you amend the Kenyan Constitution to create those positions that you desire, there cannot be a crisis. The question about opposition, we've had opposition politics in this country, I think, for eternity, probably since 1992, when we had agitation for repeal of Section 2A of the Kenya Constitution. Ideally, anybody who is not in government, who is not forming the government, is opposition. We, Third Way Alliance, are opposition to the government that will be formed by President Uhuru, having been declared the president-elect. So we will be putting the government on check. So we do not need to create a special position called opposition. The current arrangements we have in the National Assembly, we have the leader of majority, leader of minority. Those people are playing opposition politics. So I don't think we need to glorify individuals or certain groups to be seen to be having an effective opposition.
Do you think that's the attempt to, as you say, glorify certain individuals? If so, whom?
Well, the truth for the matter, you and I, okay, it's possible that we may have been born at night, but certainly it wasn't last night. And the problem in Kenya is that you've got quite a number of individuals who have got this false sense of entitlement, that if they are not in politics, if they are not seeking political power, then nobody else seeks that political power. My feeling is that there are individuals who think that this political contestation, the August 8th, 26th fresh election, surpassed them. And therefore, they still feel they're being left out. So I feel that this debate about opposition, official opposition, it seems to be targeting certain individuals. And it seems to me it's obvious. It's the people who did not beat or were not declared winners of the 26th October election, including myself. But what,
So does that include you then?
But what I've decided, but what I've decided to do as a crew of court and my party, we are going to play opposition politics. We are going. I mean, we said to President Uhuru Kenyatta in our concession speech, we will support your government, form the next government, because I mean we are Kenyans, but we will not do it blindly. We will put you on check. So. Ideally, anybody who is not forming the next government, who has a contrary view, political view, to the government of the day, is opposition. So we don't even need to legislate for it. And we are going to play that role effectively, especially now that our other competitors decided to recuse themselves from the political race.
All right, so let's talk about that a little bit. I'm sure you have noted the furore that came up when you called yourself the official opposition leader.
Yes.
So talk to us about that, because many would say you wrote the Constitution, so you know that the position of official opposition leader does not in fact exist in our dispensation.
It does not exist, but you see, it's about political competition. When NASA leaders excuse themselves from the 26th October election, we opted to participate in it as a party. And we considered many things. We considered the state of the country, the economy, and all those things. And we
Despite the issues that you had raised with the IEBC?
We did, and we can speak about that, Yvonne, if you are interested.
Yeah.
But listen, we put the country first as a party. And we said, how do we move the country forward? Now, ideally, we came second to President Uhuru because the other parties opted not to participate, and they say they are not interested in this election. So we are number two. President Uhuru was declared president-elect. Third Way Alliance, even though, we came number two to President Uhuru. So we are going to check him. There is no official spot for leader of official opposition. But if you come second to the guy who forms the next government, ideally, the intention for us was we were going to form the next government. Sadly, we were not able to do that. But which means then we are going to look into that government of President Uhuru as he forms it. And we will compete with them in terms of what policy does he put in place? Do we have an alternative? And remember, I promised Kenyans during the presidential debate that I'm going to form a shadow government. I'll form a shadow cabinet. So we will have people mirroring education policies, economic policies, security policies. So we will do that. Okay. And I think that, for me, is what opposition is all about.
Right. But how effective will this mandate that you want to carry out be, because you have no members of parliament, no governors, no MCAs, no elected representatives in any of the structures that we have in the country. So how do you propose to put the government in check?
Listen, any ordinary Kenyan can put government on check. It doesn't have to be the avenue of the National Assembly, Senate, or county assemblies. We will be proposing policy directives for this country. We have an elaborate agenda on how to reform, for example, tax regime in this country, economic regime in this country, and nothing stops us from going to the National Assembly, Senate, to present our views on what we think the government of the day must do. Nothing stops me as a Kura Court or Third Way Alliance from asking government to account. For example, I mean, let's be very honest. Today, we're talking about devolved units, Yvonne. And we've said this consistently, that in all the devolved units, theft of public money happens in equal measure, whether it's a Jubilee government or NASA governors in either side. They're all stealing in equal measure. It does not stop me, Ekura Court or Third Way Alliance or any other Kenyan, from asking for accountability. We are going to use the Auditor General report, which is a public document. It's a scientific means of verifying whether money is stolen or not. This is what we're going to do. And for me, that's still playing opposition politics. And we will do it. And I promise Kenyans, in the next 5 years, they will see an effective and transformational opposition politics in this country.
All right. Would you consider working with other members of the opposition, as you put it, who have at least some numbers within Parliament to, for example, push legislative agenda to be able to, because you cannot be a member of Pick and Pack, for example.
Yes.
You know, the numbers that are required to push through legislation in one way or another. Would you consider working with others in the National Assembly?
We will work with any Kenyans who wants to transform this country. We have said it in the past that, I mean, to begin with, we've said we will support any government of the day constitutionally, but we will also not support them blindly. But we are going to push legislation through Parliament. We have an elaborate process on how to do a legislative agenda in this country. And one of the things that we are proposing to do as Third Way Alliance is we are reaching out to the independents, so-called independents, you know, candidates. But we will also work with opposition people who have an agenda on how to transform Kenya, not for personal gratification. That we will not do. But if it's something that moves this country forward, we will support. We will work with anybody, so long as it changes Kenya.
That includes NASA as well?
We will work even with NASA, even if they are transformational leadership from within Jubilee, we will work with them. Even if the government of the day wants to propose a law or a policy that changes this country, we will support them. We are not interested in the politics of personality or, you know, regions or tribe. We are not interested in that. I mean, Yvonne, we are a new generation of Kenyans. We want to move this country forward. And for me, that's the decision I made.
Do you think NASA shares your ideals?
I think they do. Quite a number of them actually do. And you'll be surprised. I speak to friends from both NASA and Jubilee, and we agree there are certain things that can help this country move forward. For example, when we talk, I mean, one of our mandate, our pillars at Third Way Alliance was, how do we end economic and social injustice in this country? Who will fight with that? Seriously. If we want to put money into any Kenyan's pocket, be it Turkana, Luo, Kikuyu, or Luya, or Kisii, why will anybody fight with that? We will work with anybody who really wants to make sure that the ordinary Kenyan is comfortable. They're able to pay hospital bill, fees for their children. They're able to afford housing. They're able to, there's security for them. We will work with anybody because at the end of the day, it's about Kenya. And that's why in our manifesto, we put the country Kenya first.
Okay.
It's not about me, Ekuru Aukot.
All right.
Or, you know.
Okay. You tweeted a couple of weeks ago, a couple of days ago actually, as the official opposition leader, I will be launching the Real Resistant Movement. Ignore and now resist his Kalongolongo. This seems to discredit the NASA resistance movement.
You know, okay. Maybe, Yvonne, we need to talk about, for example, the NASA boycott.
Yeah. What do you think of the whole resistance movement to begin with?
Well, first of all, it's their right. I don't know what they are resisting about. I'm yet to actually see the specifics of that resistance. And for me, for a party or a coalition like NASA that has serious credentials, some of their leaders have been in politics for a long time. From a political party and coalition to a resistance movement, almost nothing. It's a pity. I really wish we could say, okay, what is it that we are resisting about? Let's pick an example of Safaricom. They are saying Safaricom, we should stop using Safaricom lines. Think about the economic sabotage that comes with that, even in the regions where they have got the majority. First of all, Safaricom... So
you think it's economic sabotage?
It is economic sabotage.
How so?
It is incitement to economic sabotage. Safaricom is owned by Kenyans. Majority of Safaricom is actually Kenyan-owned. If you ask me, Ekuru Aukot, I'm a shareholder in Safaricom. I've got shares. I can never sabotage a company that gives me revenue. Okay? Talk about, for example, Brookside. Yes, Brookside is associated with a family, the Kenyatta family. But I also know for a fact that Brookside does not own any cow. The milk to Brookside is from small farmers. So when you say let's sabotage Brookside, you're actually killing the small farmer, the guy who is depending on selling his milk to Brookside to make a living for his family. Bidco, I don't understand what the reason for Bidco is. So I think NASA has got its own reasons for why they want to resist. I'm yet to really demystify or deconstruct what this resistance
while
is
you
all about.
Deconstruct that, you said you will be launching the Real Resistance Movement.
Yes.
So tell us about your resistance movement then.
What
will you be resisting?
Our resistance movement will be about things that will transform this country, will be about things that check on the government of the day. I mean, I've just given you a snippet of what we possibly could be doing. We will look into a legislative agenda. For example, if you read our manifesto as Third Way Alliance, we had said that we are going to fix the taxation of this country. We will definitely want to do things that will transform Kenya, that will make Kenyans better. That is the kind of resistance we'll do. If the government of the day does not do the right things, we will definitely resist their policies and give alternative to them. For example, in the tax regime, we had proposed that we will abolish VAT taxation at 16%. We'll introduce sales tax at 3%.
But is that really a resistance movement?
Well, if the government of the day continues to tax Kenyans at 16%, we are saying to them that we will propose to you 3% taxation.
Okay.
And you know, that will be targeting about 100 trillion of consumer economy in Kenya. We will be able to raise 3 trillion of our budget.
But that's not really a resistance then, is it?
Well, I guess the resistance is the
I'm just trying to understand, because you use the word resistant movement. So...
Okay, philosophically, I guess what we are saying is that our definition of resistance is checking the government, putting the government on the spot. But not this kind of thing, or don't do Safaricom, Bidco, or Shell, or Brookside. I mean, what is resistance? I mean, how is it being defined?
At least they're resisting something. What are you resisting?
What are they resisting?
What are you resisting?
I will be resisting bad policies of the government.
Okay.
I will counter all that. That's my kind of resistance.
All right.
I will be interested in how do we help Kenya move forward. So if the government of the day wants to do things in a certain way, in the usual manner, I will resist that by proposing countermeasures.
Okay, so
that's my definition of resistance.
So having alternatives to that, but a shadow cabinet. Well, how effective would it be? So you would have persons who speak to different dockets, education, security, you name it. And then what? Under what mandate? What platform? What is it that then enables you to do that? Because many people are saying all of these things that you are referring to do not exist in our constitutional dispensation, but yet you are very keen to sort of push this, and you call yourself Baba wa Katiba, why would you be proposing things that do not exist in our system?
Listen, we are in politics. The government of the day is there. We have to propose alternatives to them. As a person who ran for presidency of this country, unfortunately, Kenyans did not think I fit that bill, and therefore they did not elect me. I respect that. It does not mean that the policies on education today of Jubilee government is something I will just swallow. The idea of shadow cabinet, for me, is that we are government in waiting. We are hoping to be the next government. So if you're going to be the next government, a government in waiting, and we have the alternative government, so what is it that we are giving Kenyans as opposed to what Jubilee government would be giving? That's the whole notion. It doesn't have to be written in the Constitution. Then why are we running around as politicians, NASA or Third Way Alliance and the rest, if we are not offering Kenyans an alternative? We want to shadow. If today issues relating to security, Jubilee does it in a certain way, we should be able to provide Kenyans with an alternative. That's the whole concept of shadow. It doesn't have to be written. I know we are not Britain, where they have got the prime minister, style of governance, and therefore you have got a shadow cabinet. So it doesn't matter for me. It's just a concept. Okay. It can still be applicable. I want to tell Kenyans, I can be your alternative government.
All right. In the meantime,
and that's why I will shadow the government of the day.
Do you think yourself as the leader of the official opposition?
I mean, I came second to Uhuru Kenyatta after NASA leader withdrew. So yes, I will be. And I want to play that politics. Okay. And ideally, every Kenyan actually who is not forming the next government should be leader of opposition, should be in the opposition. But we want to lead. Why then do I run around and saying that I want to be your president if I don't want to demonstrate to Kenyans that I can actually be the alternative leadership?
All right. Dr. Ekuru Aukot is the leader of the Third Way Alliance, Kenya, saying, yes, he wants to be the leader of official opposition. What do you think? Oh, okay, fine. He is the official leader of opposition. That's what he claims. We'll be right back. We're taking a short break. We have got much more to discuss with him when we return.